Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Tagore Pimana. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you all for attending. As Nishringa Rupa usually says, I know you have many things you could do on your Sunday evening. We appreciate you spending your time with us and discussing the Bhagavad Gita, the book spoken by the Supreme Lord, Krishna, to his devotee and friend, Arjuna. And this was spoken on a battlefield, and there was a huge dilemma for Arjuna. Arjuna was born in a warrior family, a Kshatriya family, warrior family. And so as from that, and not only from his taking birth there, but because of his qualification of being a Kshatriya, it wasn't simply by birth that he became a Kshatriya, but it was because he was qualified, that he was understood to be a first-class warrior. And as the story goes, or the story goes, there was intrigue, and the kingdom that was due to him and his brothers was taken away by his cousins. And from that, there were many, many, many attempts to correct the situation, but they all didn't work out. They didn't work. They didn't come to pass. So here we are on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, decided to become the chariot driver of his friend and devotee Arjuna. There's a little story that goes along with it from the history part, where Krishna said he wouldn't fight in the battle. I'm not going to fight. So that part hadn't been known yet. And so Arjuna's cousin, Duryodhana, ended up there. Krishna was sleeping, and Arjuna and Duryodhana were there. And they were ready to ask him a question. Can you please be on the side of our armies? And so Duryodhana sat right next to Krishna's. Krishna's laying on the bed. Duryodhana's right here, and right next to his face, or his head and shoulders. And Arjuna is at Krishna's lotus feet, on the feet of Krishna. So when Krishna woke up, he just sat up and he saw Arjuna. He said, "Oh, Arjuna, you're here. How can I help you?" And then he turns, "Oh, Duryodhana, you're here also." Okay. So they both asked Krishna to be on their side. And Krishna said, "I won't fight. I'm not going to fight. But I'll be Arjuna's chariot driver. Or I can be I can either be on the side of the Kaurava family, or I can be on the side of the Pandava family. In either case, I won't fight. But if you get me on your side, the other person gets my whole army." So it's like this. Which is more valuable, Krishna on your side or the army? So Duryodhana, because he had a little bit of a materialistic outlook on life, maybe even more than a little bit, and so he said, Arjuna said, I'll take you, Krishna. And Duryodhana thought it was the best thing that ever happened, because now he gets the whole army. So now Krishna is driving the chariot, and he's guiding Arjuna. He's guiding Arjuna on the chariot. And what happens is that in the beginning, they're there, they're ready to go. The fight is about to happen. A little different circumstances than we have in our modern warfare. In those days, it was just like one side was here, one side was there. There was no such thing as collateral damage back then. Everything was done. The warriors would fight, and whoever won, they would direct the country. And the people in the country were just, practically speaking, they didn't have YouTube, they didn't have WhatsApp, what all those things. So they didn't know what was going on. They were just in their village. They were just working or carrying on their daily duties. And who would ever win the battle, they would be under the subjugation of that ruler. And so at this point, because it's a family, the cousins of the Pandavas are there, and their cousins, the Kauravas, are there, and they have to fight this fratricidal battle. And so Arjuna, being a devotee of the Lord, was very compassionate and very, very intent on his duty for this battle of Kurukshetra. But his intent of doing his duty as a warrior started to slip. And he asked Krishna, Krishna, please take my chariot, because Krishna's driving his chariot. He's known as Parthasarathi. So he's driving Arjuna's chariot, and Arjuna says, please, take me to the beginning of the battle, the front of the battle, so I can see who's here who wants to fight this battle. So Krishna drives a chariot right up in front of the battlefield of the opposing party. And it just so happened that the chariot was right there in front of his grandfather, who by circumstance ended up being on the opposing team. And his military teacher, his military guru, was also sitting there. And so he's looking at these two important people in his life, and Krishna tells him, Arjuna, just see who's here. Just see who's here to fight this battle. And Arjuna started to think, how can I contend with people who are worthy of my admiration? His grandfather, his military teacher, his cousin brothers, as they say in India, and so many other people. And his heart became, touched. He didn't see how he could fight the battle. And so he tried to make, intelligent reasons not to do it. Sin will overcome us. We won't become happy. We won't gain any fortune. Those things which are meant to be performed in the community level will be devastated. And there'll be so much unwanted population because there'll be no longer any system for religious practices. And with so many different ideas, he came to Krishna. And at one point, he became so confused. He was so confused that he didn't even know Karpanya dosha. He became so confused that he approaches Krishna. He says, now I have become confused about my duty. This is due to my miserly weakness. This being said, please, I now am your disciple. I'm your student. Now you please instruct me. So Krishna and Arjuna being friends, but now Krishna has to take the position of being Arjuna's teacher. There's a couple interesting verses that come right after that. And it's described that after hearing this, Krishna Prashannan, he was smiling. He was smiling. There are several reasons given. Number one is that he had the chance to speak Bhagavad Gita again. The teachings of the Gita had faded away, or whatever you want to, became not so prominent. And also, I was listening to a lecture given by our founder Acharya, and he said that Krishna was thinking, what a fool. And he started laughing, what a fool. He thinks he's this body. He thinks he's going to stop these people from dying. He thinks he's going to do this. He thinks he's going to do that. This boy's really got some learning to do. So Krishna's smiling. And the first thing he does is that he corrects his student. And he does it in a very nice way. He says this verse, Asochan anvasochastram pragnam vedam bhasyase. Agatasumcha Nanu Chanti Pandita. Pandita means learned person. So Krishna is telling him, you're speaking like a learned person, but you don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done. One does not lament for the living or the dead. Only a person who doesn't have knowledge, who is not learned, would lament for these particular circumstances. So that's indirectly saying, Arjuna, basically, as Prabhupada mentions in his commentaries, he would say, basically calling him a fool in a roundabout way to save his face. And then Krishna starts to describe the nature of the soul. This is a very important, I'm going to say this differently. It's very important to understand our spiritual nature above and beyond our material activities, our material nature. Because we are completely separate and distinct from this material body, as these verses will exemplify. And in the beginning, he says that never was there a time when I, Krishna is pointing to himself, nor you, to Arjuna, nor all these kings, never was there a time when we did not exist. We're existing now, we existed in the past, and we will exist in the future. So there's no question. It's just like the past, the present, and the future. The nature of the soul is being described, that it's always there, and it will always be there. There's a nice verse right in the middle of that second chapter, Nasato vijite bhavo, nabhavo vijite sata. That which is material has no real endurance. Would you like to, you look like you're a little uncomfortable. Are you okay? Okay. If you want to sit up there, if your knees are causing difficulty, I see you having some challenges. We don't want anybody, especially on your first visit, we don't want you to stretch it out too much. So in that middle of that second chapter, Krishna tells them that material nature is temporary. It's real. It's not that this material world isn't here. It's not that this chair is not here, not that this body's not here, this microphone, this building. It's here, but it's temporary. Everything in this world is temporary on the material level. And on the spiritual level, the soul is eternal. Although the soul may now, in this condition, transmigrate from one body to another, that nature of that soul is that it is eternal. And so then Krishna gives a very, very good summary in one sense. He says, Dehinosmin yata dehe komadam yovanam jada tata dehan tada praptir diras tata namuyati. Just as the one who is embodied, dehi no asmin yata dehe, just like the soul is embodied within this body. The soul by constitution is eternal, but it's situated within this body. And this body is different than the soul. And Krishna says, Komaram Yovanam Jara, to give an example. He says, from childhood to youth to old age, the body is changing, but we remain the same person. Just like we have some, I just saw one of our little children, new baby born over here, come in, and we can take pictures of her, and in 25 years from now, we can show her her pictures and say, this is you. And she'll say, how's that me? This is me. I'm 25. That's not me. So, but we still consider ourselves to be the same person, even though our body is constantly changing. The nature of the body is that it always changes. And so what to do? If we can understand that we're not this material body and that we're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita that we are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. And there's a nice feature in the Bhagavad Gita which is given, I do believe in the 8th chapter, where Krishna explains, Paras tasmad tu bhavanyo bhyakto bhyakta sanatana that beyond this material world, which is manifested and unmanifested, there is a place which is eternal, sanatan. That being the spiritual world. The spiritual world is there. And so we as living entities, gaining this little bit of knowledge, this first little section from about verses 10 to like say 30 or 28, describe the nature of the soul. It describes the soul as being unborn, eternal, ever-existing, undying, and primeval. And when the body is slain, the soul cannot be slain. Nahanyate hanyamane sadire. The body may be disturbed, but the soul literally remains undisturbed, even though it's embodied within this particular vehicle. The example that our teacher would often give is that the body is like the car. The body is like the car, and the soul is the driver. What is more important, the soul or the driver or the car? Driver. Who is that driver? Thank you. The driver is more important. But we sometimes identify ourselves with the car. Prabhupada gave an example one time. We also give many examples of the car. He was given an example that in India, somebody may be driving in a Rolls Royce. I don't know why he picked that brand of car, but he picked the Rolls Royce. And somebody is driving a rickshaw. And somebody will go, "Hey, rickshaw," identifying that person according to the vehicle that he's driving. Of course, I don't know if the rickshaw person said, "Hey, Rolls Royce," but he could have done it that way. And so we mistakenly do that, and become attached to that vehicle. Just like we'll say, "My car. Oh, I hit my car. Oh, my car needs a cleaning. My car needs this. Oh, I smashed my car. What am I going to do?" We identify with that vehicle. And in so much as we identify with that vehicle, we find ourselves struggling very hard in this material world. Material world is actually a very difficult place, because by nature we're eternal spirit souls, part and parcel of that Supreme Being. And now we find ourselves in a situation which is temporary. We're eternal, but our situation now is temporary. We hanker, nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to get old. Nobody wants to become diseased. But these things come upon us. There are different types of situations which are called miseries or kleshas. There's one is the daiva klesha. Adhyatmika, adhikotika, and adidaivika. Thank you. We have miseries due to our own body and mind. Our speaker master was giving a class, and he said he heard that in America, 50% of the people are on mental medications. I think it's increased since he was here in 1975. Nobody wants to have problems with their mind. Nobody wants to have problems with their body, but they come. Adhyatmika, Atma. We're the Atma, the soul inside, and now we're being covered by this material body that has to go through so many different things. And inasmuch as the driver identifies himself with the car, we identify ourselves with this body, and we feel ourselves depressed, or panic, or this, or that, or happy, or sad, or what would you say, infamous or famous. We find ourselves in all these different situations, and we consider that to be ourselves, which in actuality is not true. And then we have the thing is called say it? Atibotika. Problems or miseries or situations caused by other living entities. Just like, for example, somebody just gave me a thing that would keep mosquitoes away. It's a little, like in India, and they have these little coils that burn, the little green things that they go in, they look like a lollipop, but there's no sugar on them. And you light them on fire, and somehow or other the smoke makes the mosquitoes go away. So whenever we find some difficulty, some challenge in the material world, where we're being disturbed by somebody, some other body, or some other person, some other human being, puts us in a precarious position. It can happen at any moment. And it does happen at any moment. Just like we here in Texas, unfortunately, like a few weeks ago, the rain hit so much in this one part of Texas that the river went up 25 feet in an hour, and the whole place was inundated. Even a girls' Christian campground was submerged. And so many, quote-unquote, innocent people were, we'll say, affected by that. Material nature, Rtadhvaja. Material nature. Extreme heat, extreme cold. Too much rain, not enough rain. Earthquakes, this thing, that thing. And so we have these three different situations that we find ourselves in. And if we take the time to just take a moment and just understand that each and every one of us is feeling the effects of one of these, if not two of them, if not three of them. We're feeling the effects of our body, other people's bodies, and the nature of this material world. And in a sense, there's nothing we can do about it. In one sense, there's nothing we can do about it. So, is that true? Is that true that we can't do something about it? So, here we are, trapped in this situation, but we do have an opportunity to do something about this situation. And that is to clear away the darkness of ignorance, which means that we identify ourselves with this material body, and that we find ourselves under different circumstances here, which are, as I was saying, unfortunate to a certain degree. Unfortunate. And so, this process of Krishna consciousness is here. I wanted to speak a little bit about our society here, the Krishna Consciousness Society. It's meant to be a spiritual hospital wherein the diseased people, spiritually diseased, those of us who identify ourselves with this material body, are meant to have an opportunity to rectify our situation and come to our eternal position in relationship with the Supreme Person. And that is done through this process of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti means devotion, and yoga means connection. So we have this devotional connection to the Supreme Lord. And there are different types of yoga. Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Raja yoga. There's so many different processes of yoga. But if we study these different processes of yoga, they all are leading one to bhakti. They're leading us to a spiritual, loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the purpose. Just like we have karma yoga. The word karma means activity or to do. Sanskrit word is kriyate, which means to do or to act. And so we have these actions. And so if we can take our activities and we can connect. Karma yoga, yoga means connecting or bringing close to. If we can bring those activities in connection with the Supreme, that whatever we do, whatever we give away, whatever austerities we perform, whatever we eat, every single aspect of our life can be connected to the Supreme Lord through connecting our activities. Jat karoshi, jatasnochi, jatahat, jatahoshi, jadativa. Whatever you eat, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you perform, whatever charity you give, you should do that in a loving way to me, Krishna says. And that loving way may not be there in the beginning. But when we have spiritual knowledge of our nature, we can understand that this is actually good for me, because we become detached from the environment that we're in. This material world is very binding. It really captures us to the point where we misidentify ourselves in so many ways. When the Hare Krishna movement first started in 1966, devotees started going out on the street and chanting Hare Krishna. They actually had a bass drum at one point, big bass drum. They're going down the road and doing so many things. And so you can imagine in 1966, Lower East Side of New York. I don't know if anybody can imagine. You can look it up on your computer. I guess it's Google or whatever it is. And just do a little study of the history of Lower East Side of New York in 66. You may be amazed what it was like, because it was a maze. It was a maze of different types of entities residing in that area. And so when the devotees would go out and sing and chant on the streets, and they actually went to a park. The first park they went to was Washington Square Park. That was the very first one. And then they started going to Tompkins Square Park, which is a little further away. And so people would say, oh, you guys are, what is, ha, 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 you guys are like funny. You look walking around chanting Hare Krishna. And so they would say, oh, you guys are crazy. So our founder wrote a pamphlet, an essay. Who's actually crazy? Who's crazy? He says that the materialists think the spiritualists are crazy. They're touched. And the spiritualists think that the materialists are crazy. Did I get that right? Yeah. Sometimes I do the same one twice. So who's really crazy? Who's actually crazy? Now we can see, we can just just do a little study. Take a little time to investigate. If someone misidentifies themselves as something that they're not, they're crazy. I give this analogy almost every Sunday that I speak. I just can't get rid of it. It's just so poignant. That if we identify ourselves as something which we are not, we're crazy. I often give the example of my sister, who went to study to become a nurse. And nurses in North Dakota, after they do their studies, they do their residency or their practice in the state mental institution. And then that state mental institution, there was a person in there who thought he was Napoleon Bonaparte. And you couldn't get this person, whatever his name was, Bill Smith or whatever it was, you say, Mr. Smith, it's time for breakfast. He wouldn't respond. But you say, Napoleon, it's time for breakfast. He would respond ready, okay, thank you. And we chuckle at that, isn't it? We chuckle at that. Why do we chuckle? Because it seems so odd. But here we are, and we identify ourselves as something we're not. I think I'm a 73-year-old male from North Dakota. I think I used to have sandy colored hair, but now I'm white. I think I'm a white-haired elder, what do you call it? White-haired elder white person or something like that. Huh? A Caucasian, yeah. I think I'm something that I'm not. Identify myself as living in Dallas. Is that really who I am? Is that really where I am? I mean, spiritually, I am here right now because I've been captured in this body. I think I'm a plumber. I'm a carpenter. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. And if you, in that pamphlet, our founder would say, if you ask anybody on the street, who are you? He'll say, I'm Mr. John. I'm Mr. John. My father's name was John. Who are you? I'm John. Who are you? I'm Bill. What does it have to do with ourselves? I'm an American. I don't like, we won't get into the politics of the different countries that don't like each other, but we'll just say country A doesn't like country B because they have a different nature or a different philosophy. But are we that philosophy? Are we that nature? Or are we something separate and distinct from that? And how are we ever going to really have world harmony or a united nation that actually is united? In that pamphlet, our founder wrote that you have established this united nation. I think it was sometime in the 40s or 50s. I can't remember when it was established. And he says, you're trying to unite all the nations, but all we see is different flags, more and more different flags being strung up on a pole, showing our differences rather than our unity. Because unity can only be there on a spiritual level. Unity cannot be there on a material level. There's always going to be some difference between each and every living entity. And there are 8,400,000 species of living entities. There's, what would you call it, microscopic entities. They have a soul. There are insects, they have a soul. There's plants, they have a soul. There are animals, they have soul. We have human beings that have a soul. It's just a different covering. It's just a different covering. Who can say? It's like quite amazing that I'll give an example. My family always had a dog. They had a dog all the time. And so my mother would say, our dog is a people dog. It's a people. It's not a dog. It's a people. Because they could understand that this dog was not just a dog. It just was some kind of living entity inside that dog body. And because they can't go beyond identifying themselves with people that have souls, they can't understand that other living entities also have souls. They propose that, or they project that nature of our, what did you call it, human nature upon the dog. The dog is a dog. And a dog does what dogs do. But the dog, just like we have these 4 different characteristics. We eat, we sleep, we mate, and we defend. There are 4 things that we do. We eat, we sleep, we mate, and we defend. The thing that captured me and made me, or encouraged me to pursue the process of Bhakti Yoga was when I first read that. And it was a statement in, I don't remember which book or which literature it was, that our founder had written. He says, the animal goes on 4 legs, and the animal eats, the animal sleeps, the animal mates, and the animal defends. And the human being, he goes on 4 wheels, and he eats, and he sleeps, and he mates, and he defends. What is the difference? What is the difference? And I had to contemplate, literally almost for the first time in my life. I had to contemplate, what does that mean? And so I read the next line. There is no difference. One is polished and one is unpolished. Human life is not meant just to be a polished animal. It's meant to understand our eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of God, or that Supreme Entity, that Supreme Being. And to understand the nature of the Supreme Being. Say that one doesn't believe in it, but one may believe it. Some can believe in it. And so if there is a God, there has to be an arrangement made by him for us to rectify our situation in every single circumstance. If the Supreme Lord is providing everything, omnibenevolent. We hear this omnipotent, omniscient, but omnibenevolent. He's also very generous, the supreme generous. And when we study the Vedic literature, we find that through our sojourn in these material bodies, we find ourselves doing different activities, different actions. Again, that's what we call karma sometimes. That's a general statement. And so each and every one of our activities has a particular type of result. Very nice understanding in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where it says that one should understand what should be done and what should not be done. We should understand that what is binding and what is liberating. Our actions will bind us. If our actions are dedicated to the service of the Supreme Lord, they release us from the material energy. But inasmuch as we act in the material world simply for our own pleasure, without, what would you say, without focusing our activities on the Supreme Lord, then we find ourselves in this situation, in the material world. It's a very unique situation. Again, as I was saying before, we find ourselves, read my business card. I think I can maybe find this. Trying to get it word for word. Just what is Bhagavad Gita? I give up. Oh yeah. Just what is Bhagavad Gita? The Bhagavad Gita is there to help everyone, as it says, the word is remove ourselves from the nescience of material energy. We need to remove ourselves from this material energy and place ourselves in the spiritual energy. We can spiritualize practically anything. Anything and everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. I mean, we're not allowed to do criminal activities. That cannot be dovetailed in the service of the Lord. But whatever we do, we can do that, and we can render that to the Supreme Lord. We need to understand our eternal position and relationship to the Supreme Lord. Just imagine, for a moment, you're not that body. Can anybody actually do that? Huh? I'm not this body. We can say it, but can we actually go deep enough, I don't want to say realize, but to experience it? There's a famous story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a postgraduate study of Bhagavad Gita, where a very, very devoted child was born as a devotee of the Lord. He was just naturally a devotee of the Lord. circumstances had it that his father was the greatest atheist and demoniac person in the universe. And so his father wanted him to be educated to be atheistic and demoniac. So he sent him to a school to learn how to do that. But the boy by nature was devoted to the Lord. And so he gave an example. Because other boys in the school were also being trained by their parents or had their teachers to become atheistic and to become demoniac by nature. So Prahlad was his name, and he said, we're not these bodies. We're not meant to, we're not demons. We're not this, we're not that. And so the boys would, no, yes we are. So Prahlad would say, point to your hand, point to your arm, point to your chest, point to your head, point to your ear, point to yourself. We say, my hand, my arm, my chest, my head, my ear. Who is the possessor of that? Who is the owner of all the aspects of our material body? That is the soul. That is the eternal nature of the soul. And the eternal nature of the soul is to render devotional service to that Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Being. And in as much as we do that, we find ourselves being purified of all the unwanted things. They're called anarthas. Lust, anger, greed, envy, all these different things that consume us. So much so that sometimes we don't even know that we're experiencing them because we're so dull. We don't even know that it's not right to have lust, anger, greed, envy, all these different things. We just think it's normal. It's normal for me to be envious of a person who's got he added a room to his house and I don't have a room added to my house. That should have been me. I should have had that room added to my house. Why does he have it? And all these different aspects of our life are there. And it's described here. We'll go into the 16th chapter. Kind of skipping around tonight. The end of the 16th chapter. Anybody know what the name of the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is? We got some knowers in here. Asmat Tvam India. No, what is it? Trividam Narakashe. Yeah. Trividam Narakashe na dvaram nasanam atmanaha karma krodas tata lobas tasmat etan tarantite. There are 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of our soul. The person who has escaped these 3 gates of hell performs acts conducive for self-realization and gradually attains the supreme destination. But one who disregards scriptural injunctions but just acts according to their own whims neither attain perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. We cannot be happy trying to satisfy this material body. People have been trying to do it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and it's been a failure every single time. And so the last verse of the 16th chapter is very nice. Therefore, tasmach, the word is tasmach taram pratanam. When you hear this word tasmat, it's a conclusion to that which has been said before. And it says, therefore, one should understand what is duty, what am I supposed to do, and what am I not supposed to do, by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that they may be gradually elevated. Sometimes people say, I don't like the the restrictions of Scripture. They're not restrictions, they're instructions. There's a big difference between inscription, what did I say? Restrictions and instructions. If we take them as instructions that are meant to be beneficial for our spiritual growth, we'll see all these things in a real different context. We'll see them in a very, very, very different context. Just like there are different rules and regulations in every scripture. The biblical teachings have the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this, not do that. One should honor their family, their fathers, their ancestors. Bhagavad Gita said, or our teachings, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. These 4 principles are there. There's a lecture where our founder says that these 10 commandments and the 4 regulated principles are the same. And when you think, how is it the same? How can they be the same? They don't sound the same, but the purpose is the same. If the purpose of something is the same, even though it's said in different aspects, it becomes the same. And these restrictions or instructions are there for us to attain or to become situated in the mode of goodness so that we can actually understand the meaning and what would you say, the purport or the real understanding of scriptural texts. Because if we're situated in a mode of ignorance, we're just so covered, we don't even know who we are. In the mode of passion, we're still so covered, we're just so active, we don't even know what's going on. But in the mode of goodness, we can take the time to take a moment and say, why am I doing what I'm doing? What is my purpose? What is my goal? And are my activities right now facilitating that which I want to grow into, or are they removing me from those? And this is what's given in the Bhagavad Gita. We have this wonderful opportunity to set our sights on something greater than those material accomplishments which will come to us in this material world. It's described that once one is born, they have exactly material energy, which is one of God's energies. The material energy is Daivihesha Gunamaya Mama Maya Drantiya. Material energy is divine because it's coming from Krishna, although it's the external energy of God. There's the internal energy of God, which is the spiritual nature. We as individual souls are marginal energy of the Lord. That was pretty quick. We'll find ourselves either under one of these energies. And in those situations, it's quite amazing because when we're under the control of material nature's guided by the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And being controlled by those different modes of material nature, we think we're doing things when we're not actually doing. It's not even us. It's just the modes of material nature. Like I say, we're all given a particular situation. When we take our birth, it's due to our previous activities. Where we'll take birth, what will be our situation, is all according to our previous activities. That's how they use the word karma. Oh, that's your karma. And so how these modes of material nature manipulate us, because we identify ourselves with this material body, which is composed of the modes of material nature, and then we think that we're actually controlling things. When in actuality, we're not. We're being controlled by the material energy. So what we'd like to offer here in the Krishna Conscious Society is a process. Not even a process. What we would like to offer here at this Kalachandji Dham, this temple, is a community that can help each and every one of us come in contact with a spiritual understanding that can give us real satisfaction, real happiness. There's a nice verse. I'm getting close to the end. Well, that was pretty good. One who is not connected to the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence. If we're not connected to the Lord, we cannot have transcendental. We can have material intelligence. Material intelligence, you know, how to make a faster computer, how to make AI look like you or me, how to all these different things that are there. But spiritual intelligence is something that gives us the ability to discriminate between matter and spirit. And so if we don't have transcendental intelligence, we can't have a steady mind. The mind cannot be steadied by material activities, by material formulas. It doesn't work. They've been trying for millions and millions of years to try to control the mind or situate the mind or steady the mind by these different processes, but we find that they don't actually work. If we could just ask everyone, wherever you're sitting, to just move up two squares, two big squares. That, especially in the front here, move this way, not towards me. Towards me is okay too, but towards that way. So all those in the back can come in, make some space for all of our wonderful guests. Thank you. That was very, very well done. I would normally ask for a round of applause. We're going back to this idea of spiritual intelligence, giving us the ability to have a steady mind. Because if we can understand that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, and I'm meant to utilize this all in the service of the Supreme Lord, I'll come to a greater understanding of myself, because the mind will become steady. And without a steady mind, there's no possibility of peace. Anybody ever experienced that? The mind is rattling so much so that you can't even keep control. The mind is just rattling. Sometimes it's rattling sometimes all the time it's rattling, but sometimes it's rattling so much we don't even know it's rattling. We can't even identify with it. And so if we can't control the mind, we can't find peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? How can we become happy? That's the goal. That is our innate nature. Anandamaya Bhyasat. By nature, we're pleasure-seeking living entities. Now we're seeking pleasure in the wrong place. It's like trying to find water in the desert. But in the desert, there's no water. But in the desert, because the sun reflects on that surface, it appears that there's water on the surface. And the foolish animal or the foolish person runs towards that water and tries to satisfy their thirst. But ultimately, that water keeps moving and moving and moving more and more forward. And in the same way as the animal tries to search out that water, which is illusion, water is real. Water is true. It actually exists, but it's temporary. And so in the same way, we search and try to find happiness in the illusion of the material energy. And by so doing, we find ourselves slipping deeper and deeper into the clutches of this adhyatmic, adhibautic, and adhidaivik. And so that's what we're trying to do here. This place is an invitation for everyone that comes here to help us form a community are people who are interested in the higher purpose of life, not the lower purposes of life, the higher purposes of life. Who am I? What is this material world? What is God? What is karma? How does time work? These 5 factors are described in the Bhagavad Gita: the Supreme Lord, the living entities, material nature, karma, and time. These 5 activities, there are 4 of them are permanent, and karma can be removed. We can do that through this process. And so this is an invitation. We are really, really enthusiastic to try to establish a community of like-minded people who are interested in associating together with the higher purpose of this understanding of ourselves in relationship to the Supreme Lord. We are working very diligently. We have established certain, administrative goals. We're searching different administrative goals, which are purpose-centered, and the center of that purpose is to bring everyone here closer and closer to their original relationship with the Supreme Lord, which will be that which gives us true happiness and true peace of mind. Without that, we can't do it. And so we are also, we are also dependent upon all of you to help us reach that goal. Because Sangha is the most important thing. Association is the most important thing. You show me the people you associate with, I'll tell you what kind of person you are. If you associate with drunkards, you'll be a drunkard. We'll just go down the line. We can show you that. And so the idea of having a community dedicated to the service of Radha Kalachandji, the service of this mandir, the service to each other, to improve our lives. Materially, we can do that. But spiritually, we need your help. We need to be uplifted and moved forward in our activities and ask the questions that need to be asked. Because a lot of times we hold back the important questions. Each and every one of us has a vacancy in the heart that needs to be filled. There's a vacancy in the heart that has an urgent need. And if we can just dive a little deeper within and come to a proper understanding that this won't work in the material world, if we can just get together on a spiritual level, we'll finally realize that this is the goal of life. So we invite all of you, we invite each and every one of you to please take part in this community of devotees, this community that is dedicated to the service of the presiding deity, Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji, and to this community. And we hope and pray that you benefit. If you, yeyatam mam papajante tanstataiva bhajamyaham, as we enter into this arena of devotional service, that we will be, the word is rewarded, but we'll be gifted a relationship to the Supreme Lord deeper and deeper and deeper. As those surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. As we move forward, the word is papajante. Sometimes it's translated as surrender, but it just means moving forward. And if we as a community can move forward, step by step by step, gradually, shanai, shanai, gradually, step by step, moving forward towards our religious relationship with the Supreme Lord, we'll become such a powerful entity within this community that we can do so much, so much for our Dallas community, the greater Dallas community, and form a team that is interested in self-realization. Raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand if you don't agree. Raise your hand if you're in between. This is our request. It's a humble request. Now we'll have a wonderful series of announcements given by our temple president, Nishinga Rupa Das, who has kindly taken on the position of temple president to manage this community. And he has many, many needs. Many, 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 many needs. And because there's many, 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 many people here, we just need you to fill in the blanks. Can we all agree to fill in the blanks? Give me a Haribo. Haribo. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Rtadhvaja Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.